there are ways of increasing this productivity. Within Pro, when you're logged into your Pro version, what you're going to do is go down to your profile button in the bottom left-hand corner. When you click on that, it's going to open up all your settings. And what we're going to click on is the little gear for settings. This is going to open up your Keap Pro integrations, settings, all the configurables. The productivity tools that are really important here in Pro are going to be located underneath the integrations tab. When you click into that tab, you're going to see a bunch of stuff, right? So don't worry about any of the stuff that says explore. Those are third-party integrations. We're not going to be talking about that today. We want to just think about the connects. The connects are the native Keap integrations that they have available from them. These are ones that they maintain. These are ones that Keap are responsible for. There's no charge to use any of this stuff, and they're very, very cool. But kind of like, what the heck are they, Sergio, right? At the very top, you're going to see the two different email accounts that Keap can connect with. Google, which is their calendar and their email, and Outlook, their calendar and their email. So to connect this with your Google or Outlook, you very simply click on connect. It's going to take you through a login steps of actually connecting and logging that, getting Keap and that email account connected. Now, what does that do, right? Well, the way this works is when that integration is live, it's going to look for any contact record that you have in your database and to see if you or them are emailing that email inbox, right? And if they do, or if you do, it's going to automatically sync that information and pull it back to the contact record. So you have that one spot to see all of that email history. Now, typically this is going to be the email address of the user, right? Let's say Jim, right? It would be jim@jim.com on this Google email, right? But let's say Jim also has an alias email and another employee email. Those people don't necessarily need to be users in Keap to get that email account to sync in. As long as you have access to that email account, you can still connect that here. Make sense? Any questions on the email accounts? Now, things that won't work with proprietary email inboxes. Let's say Laura had GoDaddy email, right? And she had that set up through the GoDaddy, and it's an email account with them. GoDaddy doesn't let anybody integrate with that. So the data that's inside that mailbox is kind of stuck there. It's not just like GoDaddy, Wix, or any of those proprietary email inboxes. So when we're thinking about being more productive, there is a business argument that can be made to switch off of proprietary email servers or POP servers or even just like the @Gmail or @Yahoo, right? There is a really big value to switching over to a domain account and having that domain account being one of the more reputable companies. Looks like we have a quick question. If your initial registration email is an iCloud account, how do you change that to the business email? Example, Kate registered with iCloud and is now employed with Mint, has a Mint domain. Okay. So Kate is a employee who has now been hired on and now has this new domain email address for them being an employee, right? Did I get that right? Okay. So when we initially create the when we initially make their user in Keap, we would probably be using that iCloud because there would be a transitional point until we have the Mint, right? So there's kind of a couple different ways that we can handle that. We can either hold off on creating them as a user within Keap until we get the Mint, the business domain email address, right? Or we can allow them to come in with that iCloud knowing that it's just going to be a login email address. When they actually get logged into Keap and they get their domain in their user record, you would update this email address. It's this email address that would be connected with the productivity tools. This email address that would be customer facing. That makes sense? Now that raises another question. Another point that I want to make when we're talking here. So each user that gets invited into the system is going to open up the ability to connect to that domain, right? If we're going to use Keap to market from that domain, we want to make sure that that domain is what's inside the user record, right? So in Laura's example, right? If we wanted to email out from Mint, we would need to make sure that this email address inside the user is that Mint email. Make sense? Sweet, great question. Now, what's cool about Keap though, is each user can have a separate domain. So if your business has different verticals or different, opportunities to email from different domains that you might have underneath your company, you would just add them as additional users connecting in that email account. And then you would have access to see that DKIM to connect that deliverability and have all of that stuff working. Make sense? Seeing shaking heads all day today. We're killing it. I love it. Love it, love it. Don't be afraid to ask any questions either. As we kind of go through this, as we dive into the topics, ask away, okay? So that was the email side. Now the calendar side's a little bit more nuanced. How Keap has designed the calendar is that each user has their own specific calendar, and there's no really any visibility to each other with that, right? So let's say, for example, it was me and Val in our Keap Pro, and I made my calendar link and I had my 30-minute appointment link. Val would have no idea what's going on with that appointment link until it gets to the calendar where you could share and collaborate. Make sense? So if you got appointments in your company and that's what you're going and you're creating, you need to make sure that the person who the appointment links are getting created for is sharing those links and that visibility. Otherwise, you just wouldn't know. They would get the notifications. They would know. They would trigger the automations. Everything on their side would work perfectly. You, as not being that person, would just not know. Okay. Now, Google and Microsoft have a little bit of differences between the platforms on how they handle calendars. Here at the Automation Agency, we use Google, and we just share within coaches here, and that gives us visibility. We didn't set up anything super confusing on our side with our calendar integrations. But if you do have issues with that one, hitting up your domain specialist, your IT person, or hitting us up, we could definitely help out if we get dug in there. Okay.